You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live.
Hello and welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is John Townley and I'm joined by Ashley Preece to, I suppose, chew the fat on Aston Villa's defeat against Man City, but also do a bit of a midweek catch-up. It's not much of a post-match review because it was a few days ago now, wasn't it, Ash? I suppose it started or ended better than it started against Man City. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, a lot what you let off there. It finished better, didn't it, John? Yeah. Poor start. Game was done and dusted at half time. So looking forward to Arsenal on Saturday now. They play Man City tomorrow. So I'm clutching at straws. I might be a bit tired for the lunchtime kickoff. But yeah, hopefully we see a reaction on Saturday. Early kickoff, and we need to see a response, don't we, really?
Yeah, it's a shame really that we have to play Arsenal. I mean, in a way, it could be a good thing because it's almost like a nothing to lose game. But at the same time, we've now lost 2 in a row, and finishing in the top half has all of a sudden become a bigger task because I don't know. Like at one point, it was like we were knocking on the door. We did so much work to get near the top 10, and then obviously we've lost 2 games in a row, and it just feels like we've got to do what we've already done, which is win like 5 of our first 9 games. Got to do that again. Yeah, and it's not getting any easier, as you say, against Arsenal. And then after that, going to Everton. And I think Everton will be well up for that. Obviously, a home game. They need to win most of their games at Goodison Park to stay up. So, yeah they don't much easier. And it's difficult because, as we mentioned off air, it's almost like the season's finished. Although there's a lot to play for, it just feels so... Villa are going to have to get results and pick points up where, again, you wouldn't necessarily expect it to happen. And yes, we've done it already, but that was just after Emery walked through the door, and who knows, players are looking and thinking, I don't know, it's not much of a manager bounce now because they've already had that. And hopefully towards the end of the season, we can continue to get points. But yeah, against City, obviously a top team, one of the best teams in the world. But the manner of how we played in the first half, we didn't really help ourselves, did we? I mean, Watkins said it himself. Villa were too soft. I think he said too soft for his words. Yeah. And we lacked intensity, didn't we? We lacked that sort of bite and fight that you would expect us to have, to be fair.
Yeah, 100%. And Emery said afterwards, he's taken each game now, new information. He's been given to him from the players. Are they coasting? Some coasting through it? Some wasting their chances? Being selected all the time. Leon Bailey's in and out of form, isn't he, really? So he's taking information on from the players ahead of this big summer, as we're calling it. So yeah, those that are cheating, as it were, and coasting through games will be found out over these next, 10, 12 weeks now. So it's about getting as much information on board from the manager ahead of a recruitment drive in the summer. And yeah, I think quite a few players are on standby, as it were, or on notice, in order to kick on next season. Because Emery sat down with the DAZN last week, wasn't he, saying Champions League, European football, this. Fans are getting tired of that now. So it's I think interesting few weeks ahead for me. Like you say, we need to get results, John, don't we, to push into that top 10. I think we're 4 points adrift to top 10 now. Crystal Palace are on our coattails as well, just behind us as well now. So, yeah, intriguing few weeks ahead with the games coming up. Arsenal Saturday, Everton. That's a real test of character to go Goodison Park now, given what Dyche has done there. So yeah, looking forward to seeing the response from the players as well.
Yeah, I think that's what we need as a fan base, I think, too, because the first half of the season was a complete write-off playing under Steven Gerrard and didn't get the results we needed. And we had that boost under Emery. And yes, Leicester are a good team with James Maddison, and Man City we know are good, and Arsenal are terrific. Everton as well are good. But every team in the league's got something going for them somewhere. So you can't really make the excuses that Arsenal are top of the league and they should be, they might be winning the league. Well, we're playing at Villa Park on the 12:30, and 2 or 3 days after they play Man City, obviously on Wednesday night. So there's no reason why we can't compete against these teams, and that's the mentality that we have to get into anywhere near the top 6, like a Newcastle has. They've lost 1 game in 18 or something, and their mentality isn't to, shrivel up against teams who are perceived to be better than them or have got something going for them. It's about attacking it and using the qualities that we have. But yeah, the first half against City wasn't anything like that at all. The first goal was obviously a set piece. Kamara loses his runner, a couple of blocks in the middle of the the middle of the box, and Villa go one down early on, and it was not the start that we needed. Although I actually thought we played quite well in the first sort of exchanges. I know Bailey had a half chance as well.
Yeah, first minute, yeah.
Yeah, going 1-0 down. But then after that, I did think, Villa will go down the other end and we can make chances, because City were playing like 3 at the back. I think Walker was injured for most of the game too, so they were vulnerable. Then you go 2 down, and obviously we'll speak about Grealish as well for the third goal. But the second goal, particularly Ash, obviously communication between Chambers and Martinez. Mings coming out of the team due to injury. It's not really on the eve of the game as well. It's not really what you want. And you say that Chambers mistake or Martinez mistake, whoever when you blame it on, that was hardly ideal to go 2 down in that manner. Yeah,
I was sitting next to the Villa analysts, and I spoke to them before the game. Right. And I said, what do you make of Man City? What they're playing, Man City? And he says, Pep likes to play this box formation. So Rodri will come into the midfield. And what our plan is to have Watkins and Bailey on the break with a pace. So that's why Emery kept with his formation. So it was interesting sitting next to the analysts next to me. But yeah, just like, I think Watkins said after as well, too soft. Feeling sorry for ourselves as well when you're going down. So but look, it's not helped, is it, when you mistakes again, John, isn't it? I think they shipped 7 goals in the last 2 games, isn't it? I think. And a lot of them have been individual errors. So giving the opposition a leg up straight away. So defensively, of late, Villa haven't looked good at all. Missed Tyrone Mings badly at the weekend, and hopefully he's back this week. So, defensively need to buck up. No home clean sheet at Villa Park since October. 6 without a clean sheet at home. So, it'd be nice to buck that trend, because that's home form. And Unai Emery stressed what he wants to improve. He needs to improve the home form. I think the away form's been good, hasn't it? Mm-hmm. That's something he wanted to sort out when he first come in. With his home form now, the atmosphere's a bit strange down there of late, isn't it? I feel. Yeah. If you get a few wins at home starting Saturday, you could get a bit of momentum, and you're snowballing into results then, and things start to look up. You get a bit of that momentum, that feel-good factor returns, and you can hopefully finish the season in style. So that's what I'm aiming for anyway, hoping for.
Yeah, and I think, again, although Arsenal are going for the title and although Everton are battling for relegation, you got to get results against these teams, because it's at this point of the season where it's the teams in mid-table from anywhere between 9th and 13th or 14th. They're the teams that are, so they're the most vulnerable teams to move down the league and not pick up results, because it's so imperative that teams above them going for European football, stay in the league. All of those teams are trying to get points and get one over on clubs above them. So, again, it's a test of character, and that's probably a good thing, but we need to come through it, because if we don't, then again, we're looking at the summer and thinking, it's a major rebuild, and you have to start next season well. And I've already seen some comments in the comment section saying it's a season, almost wasted again, and I totally agree. But I suppose that was going to be the case, wasn't it, when you sack your manager nearly halfway through the season, and then next year, although we've been saying it for years, it's true we have, but that is the season where we have to start to do something, because if we don't, then it's going to be, well, where are we going? Pointing fingers at everything, then recruitment and whatnot. So, it's in place for us to have a good season next year, but we need to start seeing something as well this year, because it's a long end to the season, isn't it? And that's not what anyone wants. We'll talk about the third goal, Ash, obviously just before half time. Penalty, Riyad Mahrez penalty. Obviously, Grealish, I say up to his tricks. I mean, us Villa fans know how he plays and how well he plays, and also how he can buy free kicks and set pieces. What was your take on the incident? I mean, in my opinion, it obviously brings the ball across Ramsey, and I obviously know why it's a penalty in terms of he's got contact and he's gone over, but I almost thought it was too elaborate and almost too deliberate, the way that he shifted his, I think his right or left leg, one of the two, across Ramsey and then went over. And I feel like if they were almost directly behind it, if Ramsey was directly behind Grealish, it would be more of a case. But I think the way that Grealish clearly bought it, I think that's why I was a bit, that simulation in my opinion. But what was your take on it?
I was looking for the sniper in the Etihad who got him, but if that's Ramsey bursting into the box and going down like that, I think we're screaming blue murder, aren't we? There's contact, but it was theatrical. Grealish is clever with it. He always has been. And like you say, he's done that for Villa before. Maybe not for a penalty, but countless times winning free kicks like that. And if you get that close, I think Grealish coming across was clever. bringing his body across. He didn't give Ramsey a chance, really. Ramsey tried to get out of the way. Slightest of touches, you're going down. It's at the Etihad. You're 2-0 down. What's the referee going to do? He's going to blow for a penalty, isn't he? So soft, theatrical, but yeah, clever from him.
Yeah, and VAR aren't going to turn that over. And it was a shocking weekend for VAR in general, but I mean, you can't really. I know VAR's purpose is to look at those and say, "Oh, is it or isn't it a foul?" But it's again that's sort of clear and obvious. It's completely wishy-washy to me. But I wasn't surprised that VAR didn't overturn it. But you said the referee's always going to give it to the Etihad, and again, like the letter of the law, I suppose, if there's contact and Grealish has gone over, that's a penalty, and I think you probably need to blame, let's say, the letter of the law rather than what Grealish did. That's my opinion. But yeah, I don't want to see penalties being given for that because you're buying it, really, aren't you? Across the pitch, So, but yeah, we won the second half. That was the main positive. Ollie Watkins scoring his sixth goal of the season. Is that right?
Sixth Premier League goal, yeah. Sixth Premier League goal. He's been involved a lot, hasn't he? Really, really, really improved under Emery, hasn't he? Like you say, his goals record is pretty good. Goals per game ratio is pretty good, isn't it, John?
Yeah, really good.
Compared to others, I think I've seen that stat, isn't it? Only Benteke and Carew have got better goals per game ratio this turn of the century. So he's in some good company, Ollie. He has a bit of a Marmite player at times amongst the fan base, but yeah, he's doing well of late, and long may that continue. The finish as well, very, very, very good finish. One Watkins to look back on, I think I've done well there. I want more of them. We don't see too many of them Watkins finishes, so I think he'll be pleased with the way he took that goal, feeding off scraps as he was. And hopefully his scoring continues now because that'll help us. Yeah, and he's on some form, so like you say, long may that continue.
Yeah, you could do with a strong second half of the season. That's what he's at least started with. Exactly. I think we mentioned in the previous podcast, he's always been a bit of a streaky player. Scoring 4 games and then not in the next 6 or whatever it may be. But overall, it's 44 goal contributions in his first 100 games, which is nearly a contribution every game, which is really good, obviously. But again, to lead the line for Villa, you need to be doing it consistently, and leading the line for Villa to get into Europe, you need to be doing it consistently. So, yeah, clearly a good player, Watkins, and I rate him very highly. He's Marmite for some fans, but I struggle to, I don't know. We know he's not, a natural striker, should we say? And I think he's done very well to score the amount of goals that he has. But to me, you don't replace him. You need to use him and make use of what he brings. Especially if you're playing 2 up front, it means that Watkins doesn't have to have the burden of scoring every game, and that's probably helped him as well since Emery's come in, because you got 2 players up front, 2 attacking midfielders, I suppose you could call them as well, and wing back up and down. So there's plenty of ammunition and opportunities to score goals for other players too. So he doesn't have to feel like he's going into every game having to score once or twice, and that probably didn't help his confidence, especially when it wasn't clicking for him at the start of the season. I think it was like 1 goal in 11 or something since or up until Gerrard got sacked. So yeah, definitely, I would say a turn of form, but at the same time, maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's just Emery getting the best out of him. This is now start of not necessarily the start, but the continuation of the Ollie Watkins the player that we know he can be in the Premier League. So credit to him. Jhon Duran as well obviously came on in the second half and was a big part behind that goal as well, I thought. I think it was his first action, wasn't it, to close down Bernardo Silva, I think it was. Nab the ball, and Douglas Luiz obviously slots it through to Watkins to finish it. But Jhon Duran as a whole, in the 30 minutes that he got, plus about 5 minutes against Leicester, but that was positive as well. I've been really impressed from what I've seen of him. He's obviously still only 19, 1 season in the MLS. There's plenty to like about him from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, huge size as well, John. I don't realise the press bench at Man City is quite low, and he's massive for 19. I think he's six months younger than Louis Barry, and the difference between size is incredible. So good left foot on him as well. Left-footed striker, quite rare nowadays, and he had that half volley sweet. Good technique with that one. And someone looking up to score, gets around the pitch very quick, physical, suits the Premier League. For sure. So yeah, I'm excited by him. I asked Emery about him afterwards, but he put a damp towel on it, as he were. He put a damper on it. He said he needs to learn a little bit more tactically, stuff like that. So for a start, I think it's a couple of weeks away yet. I'd start him, chuck him in, why not? But think he's just short from a start at the moment. But yeah, the early signs are really positive, John. So they could have plucked out a gem there. They really could have.
Yeah, Matthew's saying that he's pushing for a start. I certainly agree. He's definitely pushing for a start. And I think you should say, Ash, it's maybe one too early because, again, judging on at least Emery's comments, I don't think he'll be thrown into Arsenal. But
no,
you look at the form of Leon Bailey, for example, it's probably of benefit to Bailey to be taken out of the team. I don't know if he's a player that can just play himself back into form. I don't think we've seen that over the last few weeks. We know what he can bring, and he can, turn a game on its head when we need it against like a Leeds or other teams that he's scored. He's done very well this season for me, Bailey. But Duran, I think against Arsenal at least, you need a physical presence up there to deal with a Gabriel and Saliba. Ivan Toney did really well against them at the weekend, playing for Brentford. But yeah, another really exciting cameo for Duran. That the half volley that he hit, I keep watching it and just laughing because the velocity and pace that he hit it with, it's mad. It's like you're playing on FIFA or something, and you're playing like on the slide. It just goes, it's crazy. It crashed the bar and it didn't come down. It just went vertically upwards. So yeah, crazy if that went in. That would have been one of the best probably goal of the season, wouldn't it? Apart from Ashley Young, unless I've missed one. But yeah, really exciting. John Duran, so left-footed, good size, clearly athletic, good on the ball as well. His touch seems to be good. It's all second appearance. What's he, 35 minutes into the Premier League, into his Premier League career? Sorry. So yeah, really exciting. We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because he's still very young, and most strikers, how many strikers can you name that are good enough to start or lead a Premier League line at the age of 20 or 21? There isn't many.
Yeah, not many.
So it's going to be an exception, and if we've got that player, then it's obviously an excellent piece of recruitment and business to only get him for 15 million, rising to nearly 20. So yeah, really exciting, John Duran. Moving on to the subs, Ash. Obviously we mentioned there Duran coming on. Coutinho as well, I thought was really bright, and Alex Moreno I thought played really well. But then in contrast, Buendia, I was reading on one site on like a player ratings, and they put him as NA because they didn't notice he was playing, which I thought was a bit harsh. But for Buendia to play how well against, considering how well he played against Leicester, and we wanted him to start against City.
Yeah,
but he comes off the boil and didn't quite perform, and it's that inconsistency that's going to cost him a place in Emery's team moving forward, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I'm just thinking about that now. When you're going 2-0 down, 3-0 down, backs against the wall, isn't it? And you're attacking players. The Villa did a lot of defending for that first half, and the game probably was out of sight before Buendia could have a positive effect on it. When the ball came into him, he didn't stick. He didn't keep it as well. So yeah, like I say, the week before Buendia was fantastic against Leicester. Mm-hmm. But yeah, backs against the wall, tough for him at Man City, given their midfield. Yeah, it was hard for him. Whether he starts a weekend, I'll probably keep Buendia in. I'll probably keep him in. But you mentioned Moreno. Yeah, I thought Luca Dean was off the boil. I really did. He was on my side in the first half. The ball was coming to him. He was giving the ball away quite a fair bit. So I think Moreno deserves a start for me. I'd chuck him in. The signs are there. I liked his cameo against Leicester. Leicester, was it? Yeah, come on. Down that left-hand side. Created chance after chance. I know he messed up at the end, but he gives us more going forward and more of a threat, and we need that if we're going to score goals. So, yeah, I think Moreno's more than deserving of a start now. I think Luca Dean's had his little chance and hasn't taken it. So, yeah, Moreno, decent little boy as well. Could be Jhon, 12 million quid, not bad. It seems like Duran seems it could suit the Premier League.
Yeah, I totally agree. And he won all of his duels against whoever he was dueling against in the City game. But obviously, it's going to be a world-class player somewhere. 3 duels he won, 1 aerial duel, and completed all of his dribbles as well. He had 4 or 5 of those. So, and compare that to Luca Dean. Luca Dean had 1 successful dribble, and I think he lost 5 of his 8 duels. So, again, obviously, he's played more of the game, but equally, Moreno's had a big impact in the 30 minutes he's had. So, yeah, for me, it's been very good when I've seen him. Moreno, obviously, you mentioned the mistake, but that's obviously a mistake that he's rarely made in his career, considering the teams he's played at, and obviously playing for Betis last year, done really well. Yeah, for a few seasons actually. So yeah, I'd chuck him in as well. Obviously, Arsenal are playing Saka on that right hand side, which could be a test for him. But we haven't seen him, I don't think, tested defensively too much yet. I think against Southampton he started, and their wing had a bit of joy for part of the game, but he needs those sort of battles Moreno to gear up for next season, because we know he's got it going forward. We've already seen that in the 4 appearances he's made, 1 starting. But now we need to see what can he do the other way, because I know Emery's been saying that it's a different profile to Luca Dean, but is that just going forward? Because if he's not up to it defensively, then that's an issue, because then you've got Dean who could probably do a bit of both, but not necessarily excel in the way that Emery wants to go going forward, whereas Moreno can. We need Moreno to do both sides of the game well. So yeah, really positive in my opinion. And Coutinho as well, I thought was bright. I think that's probably one of the best we've seen him play too. I know he scored against Leicester, obviously was ruled out for offside, but you just wonder if him having that moment maybe just, sort of flicked a switch in him and thought, okay, well, I don't know. Got the second half of the season now. Am I going to be at Villa or not? I suppose I won't be if I'm not going to perform until the end of the season. So he's got, a carrot, I suppose, to sort of chase. A lot of the team don't. But for Coutinho, he's got to get back into the form, hasn't he, before the end of the season? Yeah,
I think he's ever since had these blonde highlights put in. Jhon, he's looked a new man. Yeah. The pennies dropped for him, I think, over the last few weeks. I think Emery spoke well of him, didn't he? Yeah. From behind the scenes and what he's been doing there. And I think he's just worked hard, knuckled down a bit harder and stop feeling sorry for himself and think, I've got to switch on here. My career's a short one, coming to the back end of it. And yeah, I think he knows on his day he's better than most Villa players in that 11 when he's on the money. So I think he's got to prove himself, prove a point to himself now, get back in that starting 11. The last time he started a game, I think, was he didn't start Stevens, did he? He did.
He did, yeah.
He was poor in that game. The last Premier League start was back in against Forest back in October. So he had to start a Premier League game under Emery. Will that happen on Saturday, given his little cameos? Not quite sure. Given what Emery demands defensively and tactically, is he a bit of a luxury player still, especially against a team like Arsenal who'll come out and attack us. So, I'm pleased with his form of late, but we need a bit more, don't we?
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like sometimes, like after a game, it will be a case of Coutinho has to play and Buendia has to be dropped. But then last week we were saying Buendia has to have a run in the team, so we can't be too overreactionary with what we've seen after one performance. And things change a lot. And what was Stevenage like a month ago? And in that month, we've beaten Spurs, so we've gone from like a low to a high, down back to a low. And as long as this low doesn't become a run of form like we had under Gerrard, where it was last season, where it was it's obviously started well, then we had a horrible run, and then we picked it up a little bit more, and then we had a bad run to the end of the season again. That's not something that we want, and that's down to player performances for me. So players need to have something to fight for, and at least Coutinho, I say, has that sort of carrot of trying to earn his place in the team, because at the moment it doesn't look like he's going to be with us if we're going to be signing another winger or a striker. There's no place for a player on, whatever he is on per week. There's places for the teams. So Arsenal at the weekend, say they've got City in midweek. Could be a wounded animal, or equally a team that's we go. What would it be? Would it be 6 points clear? I think if they were to beat us and beat City. So obviously they've had a loss to Everton, a draw to Brentford, but that will be another test, as we've touched on there. Something that we could look forward to, I suppose. We'll move away from City briefly, Ash, and just end the podcast on some comments from Emi Martinez. If you haven't seen them previously to the watchers, I suppose it's nothing new what he said, but equally alarming, I suppose. He basically come out and said that, I think it was to an Argentinian paper, Ollie, I think it was. Basically said that his dream is to win the Champions League. He's obviously 30 years old now, so he's probably got another 6 years to fulfill that dream. But he did mention, obviously, that's very difficult to do with Villa. I was happy that he just named us in the sort of conversation of winning the Champions League, to be fair. But to say it's your dream to win the Champions League, that's not necessarily a surprise. But then I think the timing is also, the summer window's coming up. He's just won the World Cup with Leo Messi. If you put yourself in Martinez's shoes, you want to continue winning the top titles, right? Yeah,
100%. That's career thing. His trajectory's been fantastic over the last 12, 18 months. For me, the best goalkeeper in the world right now, for me. They were a bit alarming in that sense, Matt. It's tough to know the context in that we're in, what the question was asked. But he wants to play Champions League football. would like to do that with Aston Villa. Villa are a million miles away from that at the moment. Just trying to think what clubs would stump up. What's Martinez worth, Jhon? If you're Perslow now, what do you value Martinez at? What's your valuation? What's your asking price?
We're on the spot. I think we'd have to go near to the record, wouldn't we? Because that's the way that football's going. Like, if you look how much money's been spent over the last 2 years, it's just doing that all the time. I think I saw somewhere that the French striker, that Kolo Muani guy, the one who I think he was the one that Martinez saved his shot, done well for like Frankfurt, and apparently he's worth 100 million now just because he's a striker that top clubs want. So I know Martinez isn't a striker, but the point is that any top player in their position is sort of nine figures. So
yeah, I like it. 100 million pound release clause or release clause.
No, well, that is the other consideration, isn't it? We don't know what the contract was because obviously he signed that in January. Obviously, forward thinking from Villa, the World Cup coming up, so he's contracted for another 4.5 years, I think.
Yeah,
so
massively. Yeah,
Villa's stance. We've got all the cards. Martinez loves the club, and just little things like when we allowed him to go to Argentina to miss a Chelsea game, that allowed him to become a number one for Argentina and live his dream of winning the World Cup. So yeah, it's completely on our terms, but at the same time, we can't keep a player hostage. And I don't think, sounds a bit dramatic, but Martinez won't be, pleading to leave the club, nothing like that. I highly doubt it. But at the same time, if any top club wants a goalkeeper in the summer, and I don't think there'll be a shortage of that. I think Bayern Munich want one. I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea do. I know they want David Raya. There's other clubs as well that I can't rattle off the top of my head. That's a shame. But if anyone wants a top keeper, Emi Martinez is surely going to be somewhere on that list, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned there, but Bayern Munich are after a goalkeeper in the summer. Yeah, he's top dollar, isn't he, Martinez? And yeah, it'd be interesting to see if clubs do come from. Do clubs spend that type of money on a goalkeeper though? I
think it would have to be, let's say, a record-free keeper. It would have been what is it, 70 million that Kepa was?
Yeah,
that's the price that we'd set on him. I don't know if that would be the price it would get for him because I don't know. Martinez is an excellent keeper, but I do think that the top clubs, they're looking for a specific type, aren't they? I think they'd rather, I don't know, some would rather look at David Raya for cheaper, who can play with this almost like a midfielder, but brings less of a goalkeeping acumen, I suppose.
Yeah.
But Martinez, who can do something, like a Atletico Madrid or something, who don't necessarily play the fluid football that other clubs will play. So I don't think there'll be a shortage of interest, but as you mentioned, there's only so many clubs who can pay top money, and
exactly,
a lot of clubs in Europe can't spend money. So you must have to whittle it down to Premier League teams, and who are looking for a keeper then it's maybe a United or Chelsea. And if he wants to win a Champions League, are either those clubs going to win one? I don't know. Obviously in a better place than Villa, but I don't think there's a rush on Martinez's part as well. I think he's just saying the obvious. Like, he wants to win the Champions League. Of course you do. And he's got nothing to give to Villa. Obviously, Villa have helped him out a lot in his career by signing him from Arsenal and giving him the platform. But he's done exceptionally well for us. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think it's just say there needs to be some sort of, there needs to be interested clubs who are willing to pay that money. How much do you think he's worth, Ash?
Yeah, a record amount. Yeah,
that's to be.
I do a Daniel Levy 100 million to start discussions, but like you say, yeah, I think he'll be fine this summer. Yeah, I think Villa need to prove to him that they mean business as well, and that they want to push forward. Emery's saying that, the owners say it, Perslow says it. They really want to get to this European football, and Martinez would love nothing better than to captain Villa there if he's named captain next season. So yeah, I think Martin's quite personal with his Instagram. A lot of them are quite boring, but at the weekend I thought it was quite good. Sorry, Villa fans, you deserve better than this. We will work hard this week and give you a response at home. And he was devastated at the final whistle. He's a perfectionist. He's a winner, Martinez. Yeah. When you're losing games, there's no one in a more worse mood than him in the dressing room. So he takes it to heart. And he'd love to get a result this weekend against Arsenal, wouldn't he? He really would. Arsenal fans give him stick every time he plays against them as well. So hopefully he's doing some dancing or something afterwards. So hopefully Martinez is here for the long term at Villa. But like you say, the club need to show him they want to take him with him and go forward together.
Yeah, that's the point. We need to recruit well, invest well, and actually do the talking on the pitch, because we have spent a lot of money and we've bought players who we thought would take us to the next level, and it hasn't quite happened yet. But it's not that Villa were becoming like a selling club or anything like that. Grealish had a 100 million buyout, which is a record fee, and someone bought it. Martinez is one of the best keepers in the world. If we sell these players, it doesn't mean that we're all of a sudden, sort of abandoning a project or whatever it is. It's just that you can't keep your top players for more than 5 years in the Premier League if you're not going anywhere yourself, because you have to go with them, sort of thing. Achieve their dreams with you, sort of thing. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the summer. It'll be a busy summer anyway, and it's not necessarily that we, not something that we want in terms of another issue to sort, because obviously buying a goalkeeper and everyone knowing that you got X amount of money isn't necessarily a good thing, although I'm sure there's plenty of keepers out there who can do a good job. But I think that'll probably wrap us up, Ash. That's half an hour of midweek chat. Our next video will probably be for 12:30, isn't it, on a Saturday, Arsenal? So is that press conference on Friday?
Usually be Friday, Friday afternoon press conference. I don't know. What questions have you got? Put you in the spot again. What do you ask him? What do you like to know? It's difficult, isn't it?
We should open up to the comments and see what people say. It's difficult because, as you say, the season almost seems to be petering out ever so slightly. I know you asked him about the Mings contract situation a couple of weeks. Shame we didn't quite get a concrete answer on that. We need to know if talks are happening or not.
2 goalkeepers. I asked him about that. We didn't really answer that one either. It's a bit frustrating, isn't it, really? Yeah.
Like a content planning session this now. I mean, let us know in the comments what you would ask him, because it is difficult from now until the end of the season, because you can't quite ask about transfers every week and where the club is next season. You need to know about what's going on. I mean, I think Jhon Duran's probably the biggest thing that we can talk about.
Yeah.
At the moment, the sort of the brightest light, I suppose, that we have up until the end of the season. What can we do there? And I don't know, maybe something about Kamara as well. I think Kamara's been off the boil ever so slightly since that Leicester.
Yes, yeah.
Leicester error, or 2 Leicester errors. You don't want it to knock his confidence, and maybe he's playing with something as well. Who knows? Yeah, we'll catch up next to find out what Ash asked Emery at the press conference. Catch her on Friday for our pre-match Arsenal pod. Thanks for everyone for interacting in the comments today and watching the video, and we'll catch you at the end of the week. Cheers, Ash.
Nice one.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your thoughts and comments. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.